Okay, so before we can begin our lectures on parallel computing, again, it's important for us to be a little comfortable with the Unix command line environment. This video will give you the basics of what you need to know, and we'll tie up some other loose ends in regard to the upcoming lab. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to point you again to a tutorial to learn the Unix command line environment. Go to the Fulton Supercomputing website. And then go to the Unix tutorial. It would be very useful to go through this tutorial. It should be short and interactive, and should give you the basics as well as some other of the more advanced features in Unix. Okay, so let's open up Winscp. We'll log in. And open up our PuTTY terminal through Winscp. Okay, so here we have the command line environment. We're running the bash shell. And now we'll go through a few of the commands that will be helpful. First, let's look at ls. This is going to give us a listing of all the files and directories in our current working directory. As you can see, we have folders and file names. So typically with Unix commands and applications, they can receive other options. With, for example, the ls can, if we add a -l option, we can see a little more detail about all of the directories and files in our folder. This in particular, we will discuss. We will discuss a little later. These are permissions. Basically, the important part is that the W indicates that the user, me, is allowed to write to this file. The X means that I'm allowed to execute, and R means that I'm allowed to read. We can change these permissions using a function called chmod, which we will discuss later. Okay. Let's again type in ls to see where we are. We can change directories using cd. So let's go into the directory optimal tax. ls to see where we are. Oh, a useful command would be pwd, which stands for print working directory, so we can see where our directory is. Just to note, this first backslash is called the root directory. We're in FSL home and my user directory and in the optimal tax directory. Okay, so a useful command here would be learning a text editor. So the text editor that a lot of people will use is the VI text editor. I would recommend learning just a little of this, and one good way to do that is using the VIM tutor. So those are usually built into most operating systems. So if we just type in VIM tutor, it'll load a tutorial on learning VI. It'd probably be good to go through just the first till lesson 2, just to learn the basics of how to use this, because it is a little different using a command line editor. So we can exit this using escape, shift, : and Q. say we want to create a new file using VI or VIM, then type in VIM, type in the file of a name for a file. If this file already exists, it'll open this file, otherwise it'll create the file. You hit enter, now we have a new file here. If we want to enter text, the thing about the VI editor is that there's two modes. There's an editing mode and a command mode. Right now we're in command mode. If we press I on the keyboard, you see that we're now in the insert mode. This editing mode allows us to type whatever we'd like. And if we want to go back into command mode, we press escape. From command mode, usually the commands will start with shift : and then we can enter in any particular command that we'd like. The most important are Q to quit and W to write. So to start, we can, to demonstrate this, let's type W and Q and we can put them together. This will save our file and quit the editor. If we just type in W, it'll save it, so it's saved. And we can do that again, say we want to save again, and this time quit, quit. Okay, so let's press LS. Now we see that that new file is created. Now say we want to delete this file. To delete, we use RM to remove this file. We type in new file. Note that I don't have to type the whole file name. In a lot of systems, I can just press tab, and this will complete. This is called tab completion. It'll finish typing out the rest of the file name. Oftentimes, if you have, this works in any case. I can type and now I press tab and it doesn't know how to finish because you see that I have a few files or folders that are that begin with command. So if I press tab twice, it'll print out all of the different possibilities, and then I can give it a little more information. I want command line test, and it'll be able to recognize what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's go back to trying to delete new file, rm, new file, and this will get rid of that file. We should note that we should be careful when we use delete. One recommendation that I have is to use the interactive mode of delete. For example, our interactive mode will prompt us before it deletes any file. So let's create, this time let's create a new directory with some files in it. Okay, so we'll use the make directory command, and we'll call it new directory. Now you'll see we have a new directory. Let's navigate into that new directory. Again, I use tab completion, and we see there's nothing in the directory. So let's make a new file. Save it with Q. Now we have a new file in our directory. Now let's navigate out of this directory, and we can do that using cd space ... And now we've moved up one directory and we're back into the directory that we're at. And say we wanted to delete this directory with all the files in it. Okay, so you'd think we could just use the rm command to delete the directory, but rm can't delete directories unless we give it another command. we give it the command -r. This stands for recursive. This will delete the directory as well as the files in it. Again, I recommended that we use the rm command with this interactive command, -i. It'll prompt us before it deletes anything. This is recommended for new users because it can be easy to delete a whole bunch of things that you probably don't want to delete. So it asks us, do we want to descend into this directory? Yes. Do we want to delete this file? Yes. Do we want to delete the directory? Yes. Okay, so we've deleted the directory. Okay, now I'd like to demonstrate I'd like to demonstrate the permissions that we talked about earlier. Remember, we used ls and then l, and we can see all the permissions of these different files. You'll notice that some of them are not executable. Now let's show why that's important. Let's create a new directory. Let's navigate into that directory. Create a new file. Now we go into insert mode with I. Now let's create a simple program. Okay. Go press escape to go back to command mode, shift colon and WQ to write and quit. Okay. So now we have this program hello.py. If we want to run this program, it's important to know that on the Fulton Supercomputer there are 2 versions of Python available. The latest version is Python 2.6, which we will be using. The other version, to access these versions of Python, we can type in Python or Python 2.6. Just remember, Python 26 is the one that we'll be using. So anytime we want to run something in Python, we'll be using Python 26. And so now we'll tab complete. So now we're going to run our program, and it'll print hello world. Okay. So to demonstrate the permissions, I want to show this by turning hello.py into an executable. Right now you see it's just a normal text file, but we can turn it into an executable by going into the file, and if we add at the beginning the following text, it'll know to start up Python and run it as a standalone executable. Okay. Now we want to run hello.py, and it should run if we just call it by itself. Notice tab complete doesn't work. And I try to run it as an executable, which, no, I have to put the dot and the / before. But it says permission denied. So everything should be right, but it's not allowing me to. So let's hit ls-l to see what's going on. And we see that hello.py doesn't have the executable permission. So how do we change that? We can change that by using chmod. Chmod, and then we say +x to add on the executable permission, and then we want to do that to hello.py. Okay, so ls-l to see how it changed, and now we can see that we now have the executable permission. Just to note, that the first column refers to the read, write. The first the first character is the file type. The next are read, write, and executable permissions for the user. The next three are for the group, and the last three are public. Okay, so now that we've made hello.py executable, we should be able to execute it just by typing / and then hello. And it works. Okay, so that's chmod. Now you can do a lot of other things with chmod. You can remove permissions with minus. Also to know, if you want more information on any command, the standard way to do this is to look up its man page. Man, manual, chmod. Okay, and now I can go and look through all of what chmod does. Press Q to exit out of that. One other little thing about Unix, something that could be a little interesting to know is, so I press ls. Now let me actually navigate. Let me go back to my user directory. I can do that just by hitting CD, and that will go all the way back to where I began. Okay, so LSL, give me everything. Now something about Unix that is interesting is the pipe command that will feed the output of one program into the input of another. So in this case, I want to, just as an example to demonstrate this, take the output from ls-l and put it into the input of a function called less. Less is a function that allows me to scroll through things. The information here isn't big enough to really need to scroll. If I had something longer, let's go into say I wanted to look at database.txt. I can type in less database. Now I can look at the database. Press Q to exit it. There's another function called more, which does just about the same thing, except you can only go one way through pages at a time. Also, let's go back. Okay, another useful command is a redirect /hello.py. Now I want to take the output of this executable, which was hello world, and I want to put it into a new file. I'll put it into outfile.txt. I can do that using the greater than. This is a redirect. Nothing happened, as you can see, but now I have a new file called outfile here, and I can look at that file. I can look at it with vim. I can look at it. We did that. We showed you how to do that with less. I can do it with more. Another one, I can do it with cat. And that will just print it out. So some of these functions, they'll be useful later on, as you can take all of these functions and write scripts out of them to do complex procedures, to automate complex procedures in Unix. A lot of manipulation can be made, a lot of file manipulation can be made easier with these commands, and with the redirects and the pipes, you can do a lot of cool things, but this should cover all of the basics that we need to know. Alright, hope that helps. Thanks.